Emma adjusted her uniform cap, the brim casting a shadow over her tired eyes. 28 years old and already jaded, she craved the sunrise, the promise of a new job, a fresh start. Tonight, however, was her final shift, guarding the slumbering secrets of the decommissioned government archives. The building loomed before her, a concrete monolith against the inky canvas of the night. Its windows, dark and vacant, stared back like the empty sockets of a skull. A shiver danced down her spine. Just a building, she reminded herself, pushing through the heavy doors. Emma settled into the security room, its walls lined with monitors, each displaying a grainy tableau of the archive's desolate corridors. The room was dimly lit, the only illumination coming from the flickering screens that cast eerie shadows on the walls. She had spent countless nights here, but tonight felt different, an unsettling feeling gnawing at the edges of her mind. She flipped through the security feeds, a familiar routine settling over her. Each camera angle revealed the same emptiness, the same stillness that had become a part of her nightly vigil. Yet there was a tension in the air, a sense of anticipation that she couldn't shake off. Rows upon rows of filing cabinets, draped in shadows, stretched into the depths of the building. These cabinets held secrets, stories long forgotten, and Emma often wondered about the lives and events they documented. The silence of the hallways seemed to guard these secrets jealously, as if daring anyone to uncover them. The silence was a living presence here, pressing in on her, amplifying every creak and groan of the aging structure. It was as if the building itself was alive, breathing softly, whispering its ancient tales to those who would listen. Emma felt a chill run down her spine as the creaks and groans seemed to form a haunting melody. She could almost hear the whispers of forgotten stories, the rustling of classified documents, the echoes of footsteps that were no longer there. The air was thick with the weight of history, and Emma felt a strange connection to the past, as if the spirits of those who once walked these halls were reaching out to her. She took a deep breath, the metallic tang of anxiety catching in her throat. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing in the silence. She tried to steady herself, reminding herself that she had been through this countless times before. But tonight, the anxiety felt different, more intense, as if something unseen was watching her. Just a few more hours, she thought, willing herself to relax. She glanced at the clock, its hands moving agonizingly slow. Time seemed to stretch, each minute feeling like an eternity. She closed her eyes for a moment, trying to calm her racing thoughts, but the feeling of unease persisted. But something about tonight felt different. The silence heavier, the shadows deeper. The usual comfort she found in the routine was absent, replaced by a sense of foreboding. Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was not alone, that the echoes in the silence were more than just memories of the past. The night crawled by, each tick of the clock a hammer blow against Emma's fraying nerves. She found herself drawn back to the monitors, their grainy images of perverse comfort in the oppressive silence. The cameras, old and prone to glitches, painted the archive in shades of gray and black, the footage flickering like a dying flame. Timestamps in the corner of the screens marked the passage of time. 2:17 a.m., 2:18 a.m., 2:19 a.m. It was on camera 4, pointed down a long corridor lined with steel shelving, that she noticed something unusual. A figure, shrouded in shadow, stood motionless at the far end. Her breath hitched. There shouldn't be anyone else here. She leaned closer, squinting at the screen. The figure remained still, a dark silhouette against the pale gray of the wall. A chill ran down her spine. This was a restricted area sealed off years ago. The timestamp on the screen blinked. 2:37 a.m. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She had to investigate. Protocol be damned, she couldn't ignore this. Grabbing her flashlight, she keyed open the security room door. The hallway outside was dark, lit only by the emergency exit sign at the far end. Her footsteps echoed in the silence as she made her way towards Camera 4's viewpoint. The hallway stretched out before her, identical to the grainy image on the monitor. The silence was almost deafening, broken only by the faint hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. She could feel the weight of the emptiness pressing down on her, making each step feel heavier than the last. Rows of metal shelves lined the walls, their surfaces coated in a thick layer of dust. It was clear that no one had been here for a long time. The air was thick with the scent of neglect, and she could almost taste the dust on her tongue. But the figure was gone. She had seen it just moments before, a fleeting shadow that disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. Her mind raced with possibilities, each one more unsettling than the last. She reached the end of the corridor, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. Empty. The beam flickered slightly, casting eerie shadows on the walls. She felt a chill run down her spine, but she pressed on, determined to find the source of the disturbance. There was nowhere for anyone to hide. The hallway was barren, devoid of any nooks or crannies where someone could conceal themselves. It was as if the figure had vanished into thin air. She scanned the shelves, her pulse quickening. Had she imagined it? The thought gnawed at her, but she knew what she had seen, or at least she thought she did. Doubt began to creep in, but she shook it off, focusing on the task at hand. Turning back, she glanced at the security camera mounted on the ceiling, its single red light blinking steadily. It was a silent sentinel, recording everything, yet offering no answers. She wondered if it had captured the figure she had seen, and then she saw it. Her heart skipped a beat as she stared at the monitor. There, in the grainy footage, was the figure. It was unmistakable, a shadowy presence that sent a shiver down her spine. On the monitor in the corner of the screen, a time-stamped caption, Camera 4, 2:41 a.m. The time was eerily precise, marking the exact moment she had felt the presence behind her. And there, behind her own image, stood the figure, partially obscured by static, watching her. It was as if the figure was aware of her every move, a silent observer in the shadows. The realization sent a wave of fear crashing over her, but she knew she had to keep going, to uncover the truth behind the watching eyes. Panic welled up inside her, cold and sharp. This was wrong. Impossible. She spun around, her flashlight beam dancing wildly, but the hallway was empty. She was alone. She stared at the monitor, the image flickering erratically. The figure was gone, vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Had it been a glitch, a trick of the light, or something more sinister? The static on the screen intensified, the image distorting, the timestamp jumping erratically. 2:42 a.m., 2:45 a.m., 2:40 a.m. A high-pitched whine pierced the air, the sound growing louder, more insistent. Next morning, the sun painted the sky in hues of gold and rose, but inside the archives, darkness still reigned. The security room was empty, the only sound the incessant hum of the monitors. On the main screen, a single image flickered, a still frame from Camera 4, timestamped 2:47 a.m. The hallway was empty except for a single object lying on the floor, Emma's discarded flashlight. Days turned into weeks, the investigation into Emma's disappearance yielding no answers. The archives, once a place of forgotten history, now held a chilling new mystery. The case grew cold, the files gathering dust like the countless others in the archives. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and soon, the investigation was all but forgotten. The once bustling office, filled with the hum of activity, now stood silent, a graveyard of unsolved mysteries. Then, a breakthrough. A hidden file on Emma's work computer, corrupted but partially recoverable. It was a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak landscape. The team worked tirelessly, piecing together fragments of data. Their determination reignited. It contained a single video file, time-stamped 2:48 a.m. The timestamp was crucial, marking the exact moment when everything changed. The air was thick with anticipation as they prepared to view the contents. The footage was grainy, distorted but identifiable. Despite the poor quality, there was no mistaking the significance of what they were seeing. Every frame was scrutinized, every second analyzed. It showed the figure from camera 4, no longer obscured by shadow or static. The clarity was unsettling, revealing details that had previously been hidden. The figure moved with a purpose, a sense of urgency that was palpable. He stood facing the camera, his face pale and gaunt, his eyes burning with an eerie intensity. There was something hauntingly familiar about him, a ghost from the past brought back to life. He leaned in close, his breath fogging the lens, and whispered a single sentence, his voice a chilling rasp. "She's gone, just like the others." The words sent a shiver down their spines, a stark reminder of the darkness they were up against. The screen went black. The only sound, the echo of his words, hanging in the air like a curse. It was a moment that would be etched into their memories forever, a final transmission that left more questions than answers.